Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Ultrawizard Ramble. I'm your host, Patrick Reagan, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Robin Rapuzzi, a great washboard player, an even better friend, a wonderful member of the New Orleans community. Robin, I got to know him back in 2010, 2011, and the first time I saw him play the washboard was something very special. He's a great performer, but he's become such a pillar of the New Orleans community when it comes to creating music, being there for the people he loves in his community. He's a central role in all of the groups he plays in, and I think extremely highly of him. So today, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Robin Rapuzzi. All right, long awaited here, and I think we were due for a little visit, Robin. We hadn't seen each other since December of this last year when I got to see your
Yeah,
band
yeah.
play, so thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know and what you didn't hear in the intro, I'd like to do a little bit of a backstory on a guy I think really highly of that has a appreciation for the washboard, country blues, traditional jazz music, like me. I think we connect on a lot of different spectrums here, Robin. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about your origin story, your background, and later on we can get into the nuts and bolts of your current projects. So first and foremost, Robin, I'd love to hear a little bit about where you're from. Tell the audience in general, where you grew up, and how you found music in general.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from North Seattle. Uh, Grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Um, I guess I started playing drums and like blues harmonica and guitar, basic music from my dad. He taught me rock and roll and punk rock rhythms on the drums. When I got a little bit older in high school, I started playing Bob Dylan music and Woody Guthrie music, IWW music on the guitar and harmonica.
Hmm.
Um, I guess when I was 15, my group of friends and I would go busking at like art markets and gallery showings in Fremont, Seattle, and playing
Oh,
sea
cool,
shanties. Yeah,
cool.
and
That's a
and
really
other
young
folk.
age to start busking, man. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, it was nice to make some extra money.
yeah.
Yeah, but ever since then, that turned me on to old timey music in general. From then on,
Hmm.
I got into old jazz, country blues, folk music from around the world in general.
Very cool, man. So percussion was your first love? Strings were your first
Yes,
love?
it was percussion. Yeah, drum set. My dad taught me like, basic rock beat, straight beat.
Very cool. Very cool. So, all right, a young age, you're learning a love for music. You're branching out from rock and roll to folk. Tell us a little bit about from there, man. I mean, like, how do you? What's your trajectory to the washboard? I mean, I know you're a lover of punk music too, because as we were
Yeah.
planning the cast, I was telling you, man, you should come down to San Diego. Me and some buds are going to see NoFX's last tour. Descendants is playing. The Vandals are playing, and it didn't work out time wise for you, but you have a love for punk rock. So how for you? I want to know kind of like, was it similar for you? Did you find punk and then find jazz and country blues? Like what was the trajectory there, man?
Well, I guess first off, my sister turned me on to like ska music and like the
Mm.
Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and the Toasters.
Oh, cool.
My dad was always playing pop punk in his garage, working on cars. So yeah, like Green Day, the Damned, I mean all sorts of groups. Eventually, someone turned me on to the Blood Brothers, and I fell in love with that because it was so visceral and so artistic in a way that I hadn't really experienced punk or anything electric before.
Mm.
And I love the idea that those guys would scream in harmony. That really blew my
Yeah,
mind.
especially Crimes. Do you know the album Crimes that they did? That was the one I
Oh,
think I heard first.
same, same, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so age-wise, are we the same age? I'm 36.
35.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so we're cutting our teeth at the same time on this music, right? We're finding it probably, we're in high school at the same time. We're
Hmm.
finding music in general at the same time.
Right, right.
Very cool. Okay, so was that your first venture away from, say, pop punk into more experimental punk music? I mean,
Mm.
did you get into like folk punk at any point? Like, did you like Mischief Brew, or did you find World Inferno Friendship Society? Like, that's a big love of mine, right, man? I've got a World Inferno Friendship Society logo here.
Nice.
So, I started to getting more into after I would say like No Effects. I found bands like that and Gogol Bordello, and they kind of like blew my mind a
Mm.
little bit in terms of
Yeah.
interesting ways to be punk.
Right, right. I guess for a little bit of time, I tried going to college at the Evergreen University in
Hmm.
2006. And when I lived there in Olympia, I befriended this folk punk group called the Hail Seizures.
Oh
And we
man.
became very good friends, and
Hmm.
they were incredibly inspiring, still are. Um, and yeah, I don't know, they turned me on to other contemporary folk groups, uh,
Ah.
folk punk groups like Blackbird, Raum, and
Oh man.
I
Yeah.
there was one summer I went on a tiny little tour around the Northwest with both Raum and the Hail Seizures, and
Hmm.
also some dear friends, the Dandelion Junk Queens, who I used
Okay.
to go see in high school. They would always play at this punk house in South Seattle, playing like waltzes and mazurkas after the metal bands would finish. It was the best way to end a night. So going on that little tour was very inspiring, and it felt really good to be with people doing that. I was still playing folk music, and I think at the time painting my face like a clown. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So
yeah.
it's cool we know some of the same people. So me and you probably met in 2011. I did
Hmm.
my first tour with a band to Folklife in
Right.
2009, 10. And I'd met and I actually got stuck in Olympia for a little while. And Camille gave me my first rat tail. I have a rat tail for the first time in like 10 years. So Camille from the Hail Seizures
Wow,
like cut my hair at the cellist's house.
that's amazing.
So it's cool. We know some of the same people, I guess, but we probably would have never connected that unless we have this conversation. Um,
Indeed.
and I remember being like, my mind was blown at Folklife watching Casey play washboard in Blackbird Raum.
Don't get me started about that guy. Oh my God. So inspiring. Every time he played the washboard, he would play up and it always looked like he was smelling a good plate of dinner or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man, I mean, he had this unique way of playing, and his ability to sing and play. Percussionist will appreciate that. I think he could
definitely.
he could lead a song and keep the syncopated rhythms, not just scratch, right, but like really keep the time in a very intricate way.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Hmm. So I bought the Swidden album from them in person, and I remember paying the little bit of cash I had for the record, and seeing those guys at Folklife for the first time. And I saw the same weekend, I think, the Dandelion Junk Queens with Baby Gramps and the Hail Seizures.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you can't forget like Inkwell Rhythm Makers and the Crocoa
Mm,
Night Owls. They were playing back then.
yeah. Okay. So from there, when did you pick up the washboard? How did that start for you? Like the transition to the board as your prime, because it's your primary instrument, right?
Oh yeah, that's what I make most of my living from. And for from the last several years. Yeah, I guess I went back to Seattle for one of those folk lights with my friend Sam, my friend Jared, and somehow someone gave me a washboard, and I just thought I'd give it a shot. And yeah, we started busking there. I didn't sound too good. It was a strange thing to try, but it was at that event that I saw many other really good washboard players, specifically Kit from Croquill Night Owls.
Mm.
I actually just saw him recently play in Port Townsend with Dumpster Joe and the boys, and
Cool.
man, he's still got it. Um, but I didn't really get deep into the washboard until I moved to New Orleans. I went to New Orleans to write stories. Went there for inspiration. My friend Sam told me, "Oh yeah, New Orleans will definitely give you some inspiration." When I got there, I moved into a house with like a jug band. Their washboard player was sick that first weekend, and we had to pay rent. And I thought, well, I used to play drums and rock and roll and stuff, so I'll give it a shot. And we were busking on Royal Street in New Orleans, and I don't know, it just kind of just worked out. It felt really natural. We were specifically playing Blind Boy Fuller tunes, and
Okay.
that's where I was introduced to Bull City Red, who
Hmm.
played with him. And man, he's got a very diverse style compared to I think the majority of all washboard players from the 20s 30s.
Yeah, we did a few lessons on washboard during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You said the people you need to hear are Clarence Williams, washboard player, and Bull City Red. As soon as possible, listen to their syncopated rhythms. It's and you said this is where I really delved into it. This is how
Yeah,
I
yeah.
learned the way that I play.
Mhm.
Because at the time I was playing way more shuffle rhythms, right? I remember our first consultation or lesson that we did digitally during the pandemic. He said, "Okay, you play a good shuffle, but try to remove the left and do this with the right." And since I've tried to be a student of that, you gave that advice, and it's funny to go back and hear Blind Boy Fuller and Bull City Red. I can almost hear you playing that style when you played with, say, Scotty, right?
Yeah.
Scotty's, Stalebred and that, and yeah, you played that style wonderfully with those guys. So this first jug band happens, and you'd already seen Kit play at that time,
Oh yeah.
and so you knew like all the guys from the Pacific Northwest. Jebediah Hudson. Did
I was just gonna say Joby was a huge, huge help. He taught me how to play triplets the first time.
Cool. Did you learn that from him in New Orleans, or was that still when you went back to Port Townsend or in that
Uh,
area?
that was after my first trip back to the Northwest after living in New Orleans for about a year. Um, my band, my first crusty jazz band, we went on tour all the way up to the Northwest, and I think we ended in Eugene, Oregon.
Hmm.
We stayed with Joby, and at that time, he turned me on to a lot of old 78 RPM recordings of
Hmm.
players and their bands, and I was like, how do they do that sound? Like diggita, 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 diggita. And he was like, that's a triplet, and he broke it down for me, and it was very helpful.
Cool. Very cool. He runs a band that has had the same name for a long time. Is that true? They still play Slick Skillet Serenaders?
Yeah, they're still playing. They play like 3 times a week at oh uh Marigny Brasserie on Frenchman Street in New
Hmm.
Orleans.
Okay.
But
Okay.
one of his best bands though was oh, I just had it in my mind. Blair Street Mugwumps.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll try to put a lot of this in the podcast notes because we're talking about all the great washboard players, current and in recent times in New Orleans, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll try to link a lot of these in the notes of the cast when it goes live. All right, all right. So I'm most curious about how you met Todd because I think I've seen some very old videos of Todd when he played tenor banjo and you played washboard with
Oh,
him.
yeah, Todd Burdick, like Tuba Todd.
Yeah. So to clarify for everyone on the cast, Robin's main band now is Tuba Skinny. He's got a bunch of other projects we're going to talk about. I've probably seen him play most with the the band Tuba Skinny, and this is a wonderful illustration your partner has done. Partner did.
Yeah, my wife Magda Borecia made that.
Okay, very cool. And she's a percussionist as well herself.
Yeah, she plays in the Wits End Brass Band, which some other Tuba Skinny members are in.
Okay, very cool. So I'm getting a little off track here. I'm gonna weave back into Tuba Skinny. So to clarify, yeah, Tuba Skinny is Robin's main project. I've been fortunate to see them quite a few times. Most recently, I surprised him. I was in New Orleans and walked up and tipped him. And he said, "Whoa, hey man, how are you doing?" And
Yeah.
they played a great set at DBA. So you guys play now at what DBA on Fridays, right?
Actually Saturdays, every Saturday.
Saturdays. Okay. Okay. Every Saturday,
Yeah.
6 to 9.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're in New Orleans, check out Tuba Skinny. Listen to him on Bandcamp. Um, anyway, you guys play Saturdays 6 to 9, DBA on Frenchman Street, and you've got to see the show to really get my appreciation. And I think anyone that likes trad jazz should give it a try. So tell me how you met Todd. Todd is the tuba player in Tuba Skinny, sousaphone specifically, I guess. And Todd and you played in bands before Tuba Skinny. Is that right?
Uh, no, the first group we ever played in was Tuba Skinny, but
Okay.
then sometimes we would also play in this group called the Loose Marbles Jazz Band, and that band kind of gave birth to Tuba Skinny.
Okay. All right.
But
So what year is this? Like when are we talking?
this is like 2009, 10.
Okay, very cool. All right, so we're going way back, man. We're going back 14 years. Tuba
Yeah,
Skinny's
yeah.
been a band for 14 or 13 years.
Right.
Pretty awesome. So how did it start to form? I mean, I know a little bit about the Loose Marbles and the technical leader of the band, who's a wonderful musician himself, right? I don't know
Hmm.
if you'd call him the leader, but when I see the band, I think of him as handing off the solos.
Yeah, Michael Magro. Yeah. Yeah, I guess he's always been the kind of official leader, but he always seemed to share that role with Ben Pulser, a great trumpet player. And nevertheless, he always kept it open and was open to other people's direction in the music. And again, that was a big influence with Tuba Skinny, very egalitarian leadership.
Hmm, interesting. So 2009, 2010, Tuba Skinny's forming. I mean, how exciting is it? I mean, tell me about the origins, man. I mean, take us back.
Well, I guess you know, I moved to New Orleans in 2007. Tuba Skinny didn't start until 2009. But at that time in '09, it was just 4 years after Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. So there was still military police roaming through all the neighborhoods, and a lot of the neighborhoods were still abandoned. So at the time, I was mostly squatting homes and abandoned buildings.
Hmm.
So were lots of friends. Everyone was trying to make do. Um, I guess at the time, a lot of the kids were drinking at the John uh, at the bottom of Frenchman Street in the Marigny. But eventually, all those kids moved over to the St. Roch Tavern when they got rid of the pool table.
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
and there were so many projects at that time. We all had lots of different endeavors. Friends were playing a lot more Eastern European music back then.
Hmm.
For instance, one of my favorite songs, Mitsukukia. I don't hear that
Ah,
anymore.
yeah.
But at the same time, kids were trying to learn jazz, so they were learning 5 foot 2 Eyes of Blue.
Sure, sure. Which is like a very core progression. I mean, it's a great progression to learn, right? That tune in C or in G.
Yeah,
I mean, either or, traditionally in C.
right, right.
Yeah. It was one of the first tunes I learned on ukulele,
Oh, really?
or tenor guitar, which is my primary now, tenor guitar. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah, very cool. Okay, so this is the time of like G string orchestra, like lots of wonderful Eastern European music.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I miss the G string orchestra so much.
Hmm.
I believe they don't really play together anymore. Um, I know that Ian from the group, he plays in a group called Glato's Zlato, and they
Okay.
play, I think specifically Bulgarian music, and yeah, they tour quite a bit. And Sarah from G String, she plays in a metal band. They're amazing. They're called
Wow.
Anareta. They just came out with a new music video um, called Black Snake or something. But yeah, they're
Wow.
still up to good things.
Cool. I remember how wonderful of a fiddler Ian was. I think Ian was the fiddler. Is that right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. And Sarah was an amazing accordionist. Getting to see her play on the street a few times was great.
yeah. I miss those days.
I remember when they had the Dead Man Street Orchestra too. That record is one of my all-time favorites. If anyone
Yeah,
can still find it on archive.org, if you get a chance, it's a fantastic recording, and there were a ton of players on it that splintered into many different bands that are still active.
right. Yeah, they gave birth to like all these other traveling funky string bands with accordions and musical saws and washboards and
Sure.
banjos. Yeah, on and on.
I know
I think
Matt Heckler
Linda.
is a fiddler that was maybe playing banjo in that band at some point, and Matt is like his new records. If anyone gets a chance to like Blood and Coal, I think it's Blood, Water and Coal or Blood and Coal. It's just these wonderful dark Appalachian folk tunes where he leads on fiddle.
Yeah, he played great music in G string. It's been a while since I've seen him. We used to busk a lot on Royal.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah, he
awesome.
taught me how to roll my cuffs up.
Ah, yeah, cool, cool. Matt was always a really welcoming guy in Asheville area to almost anyone, no matter
Yeah.
how new you were to music. He was Dwight Hawkins and Matt were always that way. They were very welcoming people.
Oh yeah, Dwight's a great guy.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting down the rabbit hole of things me and you are really interested in, but I do want to hear more about Tuba Skinny and the evolution of the band.
Mm.
So tell us about those like early days. I know you went through quite a few guitarists, but the central
Mm.
roles had always seemed you, Erica, Shay, Todd, and Barnabas.
Yes, exactly. The original guitar player for Tuba Skinny was Kiowa Wells. He left the band fairly early on, since we've been together for 14 years now. Um, we've always preferred to have a banjo as well as a guitar in the group because it just kind of levels out the, I don't know, the tone. And also it was, part of the style. You'd have different string instruments accompanying a horn-based jazz band.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess like we've gone through lots of different periods of genres that we're interested in. I think first off, it was jazz and blues, and then we got into ragtime for quite a while, still are. And then we met friends like Scotty, Stelbred Scotty, and Ryan Bear from Frog and Henry Jazz
Oh
Band,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and they were just wizards of the country blues, and they both played in Tuba Skinny off and on, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we played some country blues music, and then we even delved into like calypsos and music by Lionel Belasco, so um, Creole mazurkas, from Venezuela. But that didn't stick around too much. I always wish that we would play more of that music.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but nowadays, Tuba Skinny are really writing lots of original music. There's about 5 songwriters in the band that mostly write instrumental music, but some of us will also write lyrics, especially Erica Lewis.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been so much fun, and we all arrange and kind of edit each other's songs together. One composer will bring in the skeleton of a song, and then we'll kind of rework it for our instrumentation.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Um, about a year ago, okay, so let's see. About a year ago, you had come out with a record that was all originals. Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
What
Magnolia
was that
Stroll.
one? What was it? Magnolia Stroll. Hmm.
Yeah.
How many did you write? 2 or 3 on that record as well?
I think 3 or 4 maybe. I don't remember. It's all in the memory. But yeah, we all wrote many songs for that because we had to fill um, a whole album. Something we struggled with was making sure that we had songs that weren't too slow. Most of our original material is fairly slow and stompy. I think the only person in the band that has written anything like fast is Shay or Craig Flory.
Craig Flory has a love for the Cramps. Yes.
Oh, yes, he does.
Okay.
He sure
I have
does.
a deep love for the Cramps, and Craig is a amazing reed or let's see, clarinet saxophone player. I've seen him play in a lot of projects with the bass saxophone even or
Yeah, yeah.
baritone and bass.
He plays bass sax in Jackson and the Jinx, another very good band.
You turned me on to most recently to go off the track a little and come back.
Yeah.
BJ's in the Ninth Ward, where I got to see Jackson and the Janks and Sabine McCullough.
Oh, cool.
So I saw that show on Saturday after we saw you guys. My friend was and my longtime friend who's played upright bass with me for quite a few years in Savannah was turning 50,
Mm.
and we did a small drumline parade for his 50th birthday that ended at Louis Armstrong Park. So we were all there, and I got to show them some of what I love about New Orleans. And one of the main highlights for everybody was Tuba Skinny, and
Oh, cool.
The other was BJ's. So
Oh,
uh, very cool. We came home, and my partner Adrian is a painter. She did a large scale painting of Sabine in BJ's with her wonderful guitar player. And
oh, cool.
it was a very impactful trip for us. My partner Adrian and me, like we'd been wanting to go to New Orleans together since I told her about my years there and learning to play music really, and kind of cutting my teeth in that world of loving busking and just loving the atmosphere and the joy you feel of like being in New Orleans for more than a month or two. It's a really
Right.
special place, right? Yeah,
Yeah. It's still inspiring. I'm glad I'm still living there.
definitely. So, Let's talk about like current Tuba Skinny. You did Magnolia Stroll about a year ago. It ends with this phenomenal song that Shay wrote, that she plays on piano.
It is so beautiful. I'm so glad she chose to play it on piano.
If you get a chance to hear nothing else, listen to the last track. I mean, I love the album. I love the whole album. I love your songs. I love your tenor banjo player's songs and his solo projects as well. It's nice to hear Barnabas sing. I know
Hmm.
Barnabas doesn't sing incredibly often, so it's wonderful to hear like how much you all are sharing in the songwriting and the vocal parts now. Whereas for a long time, I felt like Greg and Erica had sang most of the songs,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful to hear you all branching and like collectively using your voices to fashion your band in this new way.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to work on my singing voice. I hear that I have a low voice, so maybe it's
Hmm.
something I could work on.
When you work on your songs and you workshop them, Robin, do you workshop them on mandolin or on guitar? Do you workshop them on washboard?
No, I don't workshop anything on Washboard unless I've been working on a song called Washboard Whiz Bang for many years. So in that sense, I've worked out ideas for like 2 to 4 bar introductions for that song, as well as different rhythmic breaks for washboard solos. But
Hmm.
typically, I write music on violin and mandolin, and then I'll use
Hmm.
guitar to work out the chords.
Very cool. What's it like to work on your tunes on violin? Do you sing and play at the same time, or do you kind of work on the melody there, then transition to mandolin?
Yeah, sometimes I'll hum the melody on violin and mandolin, but they're tuned the same, so I just go back and forth between both instruments. Definitely when it comes to the nitty gritty, if I can't figure out what kind of note I'm playing on the violin, I'll take it to the mandolin, then I'll pinpoint it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm getting a feel for how you write music. One of my favorite current records is the record you guys just came out with a couple weekends back. I bought it on Bandcamp Friday.
Oh,
For those
cool.
listeners that aren't familiar with Bandcamp, Bandcamp Fridays are great. It's a way to send every dollar of your purchase to the band. They don't happen as often, maybe as they used to, but if you follow your favorite bands on the app, Bandcamp or a desktop, you'll get a notification. So, go there and like give Tuba Skinny a follow so that you'll know when their next new record's coming out or when Bandcamp Friday's coming out. It's a way that, it's great to hear bands on streaming services, but if you really want your, every dollar to go to the band, Bandcamp is a great way to do it, right?
Yeah, they're one of the best platforms today supporting musicians, much more than platforms like Spotify. They
Sure,
really care.
sure. So, the new record, you wrote a couple songs on it. What's your favorite of the one that you wrote for the new record?
Well, the brand new one, I think I might only have one original, but it's called Sweet Olive,
Sweet
and
Olive. Okay.
that's a song I wrote for the neighborhood. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm referencing the tree and the smell of the tree in the springtime when they're beginning to blossom. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm really influenced by Italian music, and so that song, although it's in 4/4, a little bit crooked at the end, it kind of reminds me of a mazurka, like an Italian mazurka. But in the C part, I think it's Greg or Max, I forget which one of them started doing this, but they play somewhat of a tresillo rhythm or offbeat rhythms, and it kind of makes the C part sound almost like a calypso suddenly, and it just feels like a celebratory moment in the song, and that's a way that the whole band kind of unconsciously like arranges songs together over time, adds little things in that make it really unique.
Very cool. I
Yeah.
think maybe that it's an instrumental tune as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
So
only read instrumentals so far.
yeah, I think it's my favorite uh, song on the album because it makes me feel like I'm in the seventh or the ninth and just strolling around. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's funny that's what it's
good.
about, but I put it on a few times this week as we were approaching the podcast to just hear that melody. And Savannah and New Orleans are very similar. It's a big reason I fell in love with Savannah and have lived here for 12 years.
Yeah.
I was coming from New Orleans. I was living there in my Toyota Sienna, and I was playing with my friend Hank Isabel and Corey McGillivray in a band. And my ex partner, who brought me here, she was fiddling in our band.
Hmm.
And I remember falling in love with the cities in the same way. Like Savannah feels a bit like New Orleans light, where there's not always a party, there's not always fantastic music, but there's great energy and you have that very low country vibe, that deep bayou vibe. There's something special about it as someone that's not from this region.
Right. Yeah, it's all about those towns and places where there's a strong community. And I've always heard that
Hmm.
Savannah does have that, just like New Orleans.
Yeah. Speaking of, we've got to get Tuba Skinny over here someday, but maybe we'll talk about that later in the episode. Um,
Yeah.
all right, so I want to get a little bit more into it. We've covered a lot of pre-World War II music and bands that influenced you. I want to hear more about you outside of Tuba Skinny. So you have a lot of cool
Mhm.
projects going on. Earlier in the week, the first one we talked about was Rapuzi's Glowworms.
Oh, yeah. So Rapuzi's Glowworms, or AKA the Glowworm Trio, this has been a long time project coming. I'm so proud of the group. We're playing Italian American music, specifically balloliccio music, which means relaxed music for dancing. Um, yeah, we're playing mazurkas, a few polkas, waltzes. Um, yeah, that's all we're doing so far, but we're playing music that was published by some New York-based songwriting publishing companies, like Odibella, particularly. And this lovely woman, Sherry Mignano, who's done a lot for the Italian American community in the US, she sent me over like 600 songs in
Wow.
of sheet music, and so I've been whittling away at them, learning them and performing them, and also learning from other sources of music. But most of it's Italian, and a lot of the original material that I use. I also play in the Glowworms, but there's a bunch that I don't play in Tuba Skinny because they're like so waltzy. It really makes sense to be with a different group, like a string band. And yeah, we got Greg Sherman from Tuba Skinny in that, and James
Oh,
McClaskey from his band, the Rhythm Band. He plays second mandolin in that group, and we play every Wednesday now in my neighborhood at a venue called Vaughn's Lounge. And it's a great community event. We always bring pasta, bring extra food, and have a potluck. It's a free show, so it's nice to just chill out, be in the neighborhood.
are you all three Italian?
No, no. I don't know about the other guys. I don't know what their background is. I am Italian American, but only from a couple generations back. My mom was from England, though, definitely closer to the English side.
So cool. It sounds like an awesome project. I can't wait to hear some audio recordings if you guys get around to it, or maybe the next time we're in New Orleans, we'll come a few days early and show up on a Wednesday to see you.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
It means the world to me. It's so much fun.
We'll make sure in the post to get the location of the venue you play at so that we can let the listeners that do roll through New Orleans come see you all, and
Okay, cool.
maybe encourage some people to come down to New Orleans midweek. If
Right.
if the weekend's a little overwhelming for them, right?
The
Yeah.
party never stops.
Yeah, the party does never stop. It is a part of the love I have for the city, but also part of I think I need to get out of here. I can't, the hours you work when you are a musician in New Orleans are wild, right?
I've been trying to be on vacation the last 2 weeks. I went to California. Now I'm in Seattle. Just trying. I mean, I was working on a new song today, but I've been trying to put down the instruments and just do other things and be with my
Yeah,
family. It's an important thing to do.
definitely. So, who are you visiting up in the Seattle area? Your dad, you mentioned?
Yeah, I'm visiting my dad and my sister, and my sister just gave birth to a little girl, so I have a
Hmm,
niece now, and they live in Everett, so I've been checking them out, seeing their new neighborhood. Yeah.
cool. Beautiful part of the country. I'm sure you miss it sometimes.
Oh, I sure do. Yeah, nothing beats rolling green hills and fresh
Hmm,
water with trout. I was up in
yeah.
Port Townsend over the last weekend. Saw a lot of old friends up there too.
take a little swig of the water, you know. It's
Oh
good
yeah,
for
it's
it's good
important.
for the pipes, man. Okay, so you mentioned also the rhythm band. Is it James McClaskey?
Yeah, that's a group that he runs. We play a couple original songs of his in the band, but it's mostly covers of everything blues from America and kind of
Hey,
like,
Hey, Robin. Let's we're gonna
yeah,
redo this part from 34 minutes to about 34:30 in post, but I'm gonna just start that again, okay? Because you cut out.
yeah.
Okay, so Robin, you'd also mentioned there James McCloskey and the rhythm band. Tell me more about. You mentioned second mandolin. So is this a mandolin-driven band? I want to hear more about it.
Oh, well, James McClaskey plays the mandolin, second mandolin in the Glowworms, but in the rhythm band, he plays the electric tenor guitar.
Ooh,
I think it's called an airline. It is so much fun. I want to get one. But we're
I want to
playing
get
mostly.
one. Tenor guitar is my main instrument, man. Yeah, for
I want to
sure.
start a punk band with just tenor instruments. Yeah.
Ooh,
But in that group, we play a lot of R&B, play a lot of early bebop, like Tiny Grimes music, and I'm on drums in that band. Play a lot of swing music, but the thing is, everyone in that group is coming from traditional jazz and country blues music, so it's kind of our first venture into swing and bebop. So we're playing it maybe very simplified, but it's kind of created its own sound, and yeah, really, really proud of that band.
very cool. Do you play on the regular anywhere in New Orleans that people can see you?
Uh, I guess typically we play at Maison Dupuis about once a month. It changes week to week, but we also play at DBA, every couple weeks. Yeah, sometimes at BJ's.
Very cool. BJ's is a great location. DBA is a great location. I mean, you know, you could drop a pin in New Orleans, Frenchman or south of Frenchman, I'd say. Would you?
Yeah.
And you could find just a million great venues, man.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And there's so many good ones in the neighborhood, like Saturn Bar, St. Rock Tavern, obviously. Yeah. There's a new place called the Domino, which I went to an open mic there. It was pretty cute.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Saturn Bar was always, one of my favorite little spots, and BJ's is incredible. It's a wonderful venue. It's a wonderful neighborhood. It feels super communal. You know,
Hmm.
there's something about it's right on the corner there. It's got that St. Rock Tavern kind of vibe, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, even the entrance, it feels like entering the St. Rock Tavern kind of.
Right, right. Well, yeah, nothing beats a door on the corner.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. All right, you've got at least one Instagram outside of Tuba Skinny that I know of, and it kind of took me a little by surprise. And you'd really delved into this avenue of exploration a lot during the pandemic, I believe at least, and that's your blacksmithing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, man, I'm very curious about, you have a love for metal, and I have a love for metal with the washboard. You have a very intricate way of talking about the washboard. Whether you've talked to me directly, or I've heard you talk to other washboard players about the sound of cans and doing things like burying cymbals in your yard to get particular sounds, or hammering cymbals so they have trashy sounds. Did this trigger your interest in blacksmithing, or had you had prior experience with working with metal?
No, I didn't have any prior experience with working with metal. I guess coming from percussion, I've always been a fan of cymbals and bells. And so during quarantine, I got into, I went down rabbit holes online, learning how cowbells are made all around the world.
Hmm.
Some of my favorite countries that make cowbells are um, Eastern India, the Portugal. They make my favorite. And then there's another country in Brazil that makes some lovely ones. And so, yeah, I kind of realized that I had to get a forge and I had to get fire and coal. I wasn't too keen on using gas because coal, it's more hands-on and you can really, I don't know, manipulate the object that you're working with differently. And it's a different time period of like, getting a piece of metal hot. whereas with gas, it's like pretty quick. Um, but yeah, I started forging bells out of my shop, which was in my backyard at the time. And then I got into tools for the shop. I needed to make tools for my forge. So that means punches to punch holes or drifts to shape holes. Um, you know, chisels, building chisels for cutting steel and shaping it too. And eventually I started making like garden trowels or specifically hori hori knives, Japanese gardening knives
Oh,
for
wow.
friends around the neighborhood. And yeah, that was a big sell. And then I got into making cymbals. A friend of mine in the Northwest wanted a pair of uh, Badakita box. That's what they were called. Have you
Hmm.
ever heard of those?
I haven't. No, no.
So those were basically, imagine barbecue tongs, uh, where at the little hands of the tongs, you have holes drilled in there and you have cymbals attached to the end of the tongs. So
Whoa.
you can squeeze them together and you can use a drumstick and hit it on top and you can syncopate them immediately. You can play kind of the horse clop triplet sound is what I call it. So and that was used in a lot of 1920s orchestras. Dakota
Wow.
box.
Takata
Yeah,
box. Wow, that's so cool.
yeah, and I had the pleasure of my good friend Tim Ennis, who runs Cymbal and Gong Cymbals.
Hmm.
He makes my cymbals for the washboard.
Sure.
He brought me, or he met me in Istanbul when Tuba Skinny was on tour there last year, and he introduced me to the factory that was making the cymbals that I use, and it was quite a pleasure. I even got a lesson on hammering cymbals. I even was able to take home one of the hammers. We call it a dog's head hammer because it just looks like a big droopy dog's head.
Oh man, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was an incredible experience.
Man, that's awesome. What an experience to see other makers, in their craft. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I'm always fascinated with people that are doing are infatuated with something that I'm infatuated with, and I think like you, I have many interests, right? Like, I,
yeah,
I really value the jack of all trades approach. I think it's good to concentrate on certain things. Like,
yeah,
man, I think of you as a washboarder. I mean, I'm a runner, right? Like I run long distances. We haven't talked about running at all on the cast. That's awesome. We've we maybe like met at the washboard, but we took these divergent paths. But what I love about people and meeting new people and talking with you, I think we've always had these type of conversations. The few we've had, there are many intricacies to interesting people, right? I
yeah,
think so. Like, I find it fascinating when someone can concentrate on one thing and be very type A about that. But I think
mm,
it's more interesting to me when I look at you and I think, wow, that guy must just only play the washboard all the time, right? Or maybe people look at me and say he must only run. But dude, I get distracted and I want to play this beautiful tenor banjo or that beautiful tenor
mm,
guitar, right? And I want to
yeah,
go to the shop and jam with people that play bluegrass or play with my friends on Fridays that on washboard that play jazz, right? And I find that mixing it up like that, going on bike rides with my wife or like doing interesting things with my friends that are not at all running related, give
yeah.
me give my life depth. And
Oh
I've
yeah,
always found that there's something impassioned about that, for me personally, where man, I
right.
really just enjoy versatility. I really do. Even if it means I won't be the best runner I could be, I'd rather have a full life of a plethora of different interests, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I think most people need many ways to express themselves. Now, if it's a matter of concentrate on a craft that will bring you income and work, that's another discussion which I've definitely had with people before. But I think in my life, what's most important is finding what helps me express myself because it's just good for the heart. Um, Learning how to play a melody instrument was a huge benefit to my life, and
Mm.
working with steel, working with my hands in a different way outside of music was, I'll never give that up. I'm so thankful that I was willing to go into something totally new to forge a new craft.
Because why not, right?
Why not?
Why
Yeah.
not? Why not put yourself out there and take a chance and try something new? I think so many people could learn a lot from that, right?
Yeah.
I think we're really getting to the nuts and the bolts of the conversation now. It's cool to tell things you've done and your backstory and things you're going to do, but really, this is what makes us humans. I think is
Mm-hmm.
why do we do what we do, and why do we treat life in this way, right?
Yeah.
You could just play percussion, right? But would that make you happier? Probably not, right?
Oh no, definitely not.
Right, you need a break. I mean, you
I
want to
see.
read good books. You probably want to watch Charlie Chaplin, right? Like you want to just kick back and relax sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, I saw a great piece of Charlie Chaplin just yesterday. Oh man, it was him like in some scene in I think Rome probably. He was sleeping on a statue that had a tarp over it because the statue was about to be unveiled to the public. Well, the city unveiled it, and there was little Charlie Chaplin, the bum, sleeping in the arms of this great statue holding a sword. And all these antics ensued, and I forgot how much I loved that fellow.
Oh
Yeah.
man, for sure. I have a little collection of his works on DVD, and I'm getting ready to get rid of all these DVDs, and it was one of the ones that kind of reminds me of you. And I was like, oh man, I don't think I can get rid of that one. I'm gonna push that one to the left with NoFX's first 20-year DVD and a few other very select films because they're fascinating. I mean, he's a fascinating performer to watch. And when I think of you as a performer, I think of some blend of these wonderful players from pre-World War II country blues and traditional jazz music on the washboard combined with Charlie Chaplin. Because you have
Oh yeah.
antics and you have character and you move in this way that everyone in your band, Max, Greg, Erica, Todd, Barnabas, Shay, am I forgetting anybody? Craig,
No.
you all
Oh,
have your intricacies. Like Shay's man, like they or she, right? She's got the smile, right? Like wow, when somebody plays a good part, right, or a crowd goes crazy, like yeah, Shay's the one smiling there, and she's like loves seeing you all take great solos. You have these wonderful antics, though, right? You all have some part of your character that shows through in a Tuba Skinny show, and I do think of you as that guy. Like you're a performer, man, at heart. Like deeply at heart, you are such a great performer.
yeah, that's something I learned. I learned over time. Just kind of separated myself from other musicians. Was I definitely enjoy performing. Um, I performed as a clown in several variety shows over the years, and definitely on the street with a washboard or without, trying to make that money and trying to make those laughs. Um, but it's something I've never like gone to school for, but I've always wanted to. I took a mime class once. That was helpful.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was really hard for me to take on a character with my body that was maybe hateful or evil. It was really hard for me, and I think that's where I struggled most in the class. But I tell you what, I did get good props for. I had to improvise an act, and so I took a piss, like on the side of a road, and the teacher said, "Good job, you kind of like twitched when you pissed," and I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't even mean to do that."
Great, man.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, like I mean, you'd done it a lot of times, right? So you knew how to really show it.
yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
Honesty is a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so too. You can always tell when a performer is really forcing it or
Hmm.
being maybe a mirror rather than themselves, right?
Well said. Well
Emulating,
said.
right? You can really see when a performer is emulating and trying to emulate versus take it or leave it, baby. Like this is me, you know?
Yeah.
And personally, I've always found that as a professional in my field, when I'm forcing it or trying to mimic like my past self with a performance, with running, Robin, it's the same thing, man. It doesn't come off natural. It doesn't come off right. If I try to, represent myself in a particular way that isn't me, people can tell, right? And I can
Yeah.
tell, and it doesn't feel good
Right.
either, right?
Yeah.
I
We're
I
always
think when
searching for
people,
that
yeah,
truth.
yeah, we are. Absolutely. I mean, that's a huge part of being a human is like finding your voice, like whatever you do, whatever your craft is, I think, like whether it's music, athletics, hey, being really good, in HR, right? I mean, it could be anything like your voice with the people you interact with, how you interact with them, and whether or not you're inclusive to all is super important, I think.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. To me, at the end of the day, community is what is most important. And so hopefully that will be a part of whatever we are learning and ways in which we're trying to express ourselves. Hopefully it's all inclusive. That's what I like about New Orleans. It's so
Yep.
inclusive.
Not only for type of music, but neighborhoods that are very diverse, environments that are very diverse, people of all walks of life, people of all ages, people from many different places throughout the world. That's the beauty of New Orleans, man. I mean, it's super special. It's such a special place.
Right.
If only it wasn't 10 hours away, I feel like we'd be there many weekends. Or, like we would visit so much, man. We would love to come visit you and your partner more and
Yeah.
have those art nights we've talked about once or twice.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. One of these days.
One of
Yeah.
these days.
Whether in Savannah, you're always welcome, or New Orleans. So,
I'm sure Tuba Skinny will come through there, eventually. I think
hmm.
the Wits End brass band is playing there soon.
Really? Oh,
I think in early June sometime.
oh, that's great. We'll
Yeah.
definitely be there for the
And
show.
and my wife Magda will be on tour with them, so you can
Oh,
talk to
that's
her.
fantastic. I just saw they did a new record. Anything you want to plug there about the new record that they just completed?
Well, I think that it's a lot better than the first one. But the first one was so exciting. I played bass drum in the band at that time. We were all getting into calypso music and West African music. Cumbias, of course, that's a big part of the Wits End Brass Band. As I haven't listened to the full record yet, but I've definitely heard them since. And the latest material, they're still doing lots of cumbias. It seems like it's a lot tighter, and people have had time to really uh, come together like a big amoeba. Yeah, I don't know. I've talked to Magda about her bell parts in that band, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a great group. It's really like the neighborhood brass band. They play all sorts of community events, raising money for different projects or for people who are in need of it. Like if their roof got blown off during Ida or something, they're going to be there raising money for that.
That's incredible, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it goes
mutual
back
aid.
to it gives yeah, mutual aid, right? It goes back to your approach to life and how important community is to you and your partner, right?
Oh my lord, it's very important. Yeah, and I learned a
Hmm.
lot of that from living in New Orleans. I don't think that if I was still living in, say, Seattle, I don't think that I would have ever learned all about that love like I learned from New Orleans.
It's an important thread of life, love, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If you've got to find it, right? It doesn't have to be a plethora of different people. It can be your partner, your family. It's just so important to find some love in your life, man.
oh
It's
yeah,
like it's the most important thread.
yeah, yeah. It's important. It's inspiring and encouraging. It also makes us feel not as alone because one can
Yeah.
feel alone in the world today. That's for sure.
It's a cruel, cruel world, man. You know? It's
Yeah,
like it's
boo.
boo. It's a Kurt Vonnegut novel, man. No, it's not. It really is special. It's a special place. But I think as humans, we get trapped in the dismal parts. And if you can disconnect and find your community, you find that love, man. You know?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to take all your time tonight. We're gonna put a lot of cool things in the notes, including Glowworms, including Rhythm Band, including Tuba Skinny, so people can find you all. We'll definitely have your blacksmithing in there, some links to your Instagrams and that. I want to do a little round robin with you before we go. We're gonna keep this
Yeah.
just around an hour tonight. This could be 5 minutes, it could be 10, it could be 20. I'm not sure, buddy. But I've got a couple questions for you that I think we can delve a little deeper into you. I don't know
Yeah.
if we need to cover the first one, but the first one was top five washboarders because
Okay.
I want to hear your top five. You've told me a couple, but I
Mhm.
want you to turn me and some other people on that love the washboard to some people we haven't heard of.
Well, for starters, there's always Bull City Red, and then there's Floyd Casey. Then there's Bruce Johnson, who played with the Washboard Rhythm Kings, also Serenaders. They
Hmm.
recorded under many names. Let's see. Then I'd say Washboard Chaz, and
Oh
then
yeah.
he's contemporary and also Dizzy. She's a wonderful washboard player, and I think she does a great job playing in the style of Bull City Red.
Cool. And that's is Dizzy's last name? Yeah.
Ink,
Dizzy's become a New Orleans icon on the washboard, right? And just in
oh,
general, as a
definitely.
person.
Yeah, yeah. She's a sweet person.
Okay. All right, we're gonna remember those. I mean, we can re-listen if you could rewind that 30 seconds if you didn't catch them. Okay. Favorite punk band.
Favorite punk
I'll
band?
tell you what.
Well,
Favorite three punk bands. Let's do three. Three is good.
oh boy. Wow. Hmm. I mean, I guess definitely Green Day. They were Trey Cool was one of my favorite drummers, so gotta say him. Um, I guess I don't know. I was a big fan of like Blood Brothers. You know, I guess they weren't technically punk or pop punk, but they were something. Um, who else? Oh, um, uh, Kitchen Camaro. What was that band?
Oh, Dead
Punk Rock
Milkman.
Girl.
Dead
The
Milkman.
Dead Milkman. Yeah, yeah.
All right, you're gonna appreciate this, and we're gonna take a little headphone break for a sec.
Oh yeah.
It's in here, Robin.
Which album? Oh, nice. Okay.
All right, buddy. So for coming on the cast tonight, I'm gonna be mailing you a copy of the Dead Milkmen's Eat Your Paisley.
Oh wow, thanks,
Yeah,
Patrick. Thanks.
yeah, cool, man. Yeah, I need to reduce the tape size by a few because I can only hold 50 in there. So that's your copy,
I
man.
see. I see.
I hope you have a tape player. You might have to get one now. Um,
Yeah.
okay, those are three great picks, man. Yeah, that Crimes album by the Blood Brothers and Bitch and Camaro, man, fantastic tune. Green Day, my buddy Chris Brown will appreciate this episode. Dookie is one of his all-time favorite albums. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
just still swears by it. He's got a deep love for music, and still says, "Man, Dookie, what an
Yeah.
album!" You know,
Yeah.
cool. Um, if people are visiting New Orleans outside of your bands, who do you recommend they go see? Like, if you had to say a few bands to
Mm.
go see, I mean, Washboard Chaz would be, I guess, one icon that people should go see. But who else would you say? Yeah, you're in New Orleans. You got one weekend. Who should you see on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Well, I guess let's see. I would see the Palmetto Bug Stompers. They're a really great old school jazz band. Um, I would see Little Freddie King. He plays great blues music. One of the last great bluesmen in America. Um, hmm. Who else? Oh, the Jazz Vipers. They're amazing.
Okay,
Yeah, they've been playing for God like 20 years. They're amazing.
perfect. And Tuba Skinny. You can't
Yeah.
plug yourself, but I'll plug you. Okay. Um, all right. When is Tuba Skinny visiting Savannah? When can we get you booked? And for my friends that are in Savannah that are promoters, my friend Isaac Smith specifically has a company called a new company called Magnolia Productions. He
Oh,
played
that
he
sounds
played all
familiar.
the violin on the Idlewild record for Outkast, and he
Oh,
toured
okay.
with Kelly Clarkson on violin for years. He has his own project now called Isaac Smith, and he's a great songwriter. So I'm sure he would love to book you. But when can we get you over here? When's your next tour? Like, what do you guys have coming up? And can
Mhm.
Savannah fit in on that?
Well, I think we're somewhat booked already for the summer. Uh, we're playing in we're playing some festival in Louisville, Kentucky at the end of June, and then we're gonna play a jazz festival in Syracuse, New York. And that's just gonna be like the end of June. Then, unfortunately, our European tour fell through, so we won't be going abroad this summer. But that means we have
Huh.
more time, which might mean Savannah. Um,
Hmm.
uh, and then we're gonna go up to. Oh yeah, we're gonna play the Big Spiderbeck Festival in Davenport, Iowa, and also at Fitzgerald's in Chicago at the end of July. And then, as usual, we have our East Coast tour, Northeast tour from Maine down to New York. This year, we're gonna change it up a little. We're gonna uh, cut it west and go to, I think we're going to end our tour in Michigan, in Ann Arbor.
Wow, really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people that are listening tonight, or hey, in the future on the podcast, where can people find out about you, and where can people find out about Tuba Skinny?
Well, Tuba Skinny has a website called tubaskinny.com. Myself, I have a Facebook. I run two different Instagrams. One is called Rapuzi Ironworks. That's for my blacksmithing. And then I also run an Instagram called Rapuzi's Glowworms, or at the Glowworm Trio, for the Italian and original music.
Very cool. We'll put all that in the show notes for tonight. And is there anything else you wanted to visit tonight, Robin?
Nothing that comes to mind. Peace and love.
Cool, man. Well, hey, this has been a really special conversation, buddy. I deeply valued the time that you took out of your life while you were out in Seattle visiting your family to spend an hour with me. I had a great time talking with you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for this. It was so unexpected. We should do it again.
We should do it again. We should start a trio.
But oh, fuck yeah.
A duo.
Right.
A duo.
Yeah, we'll
Wonderful.
call ourselves the Fireflies.
I like it. A project is born, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Robin, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Well, I hope you're as fulfilled as I am with that great conversation I got to have tonight with my friend Robin Rapuzzi. He's such a special human. He has this fantastic way of not only playing music, but interacting with his community. The way he talks about love, the way he talks about the importance of his community within New Orleans and his family in Seattle. All around, just a really special person. There's like no ego there, you know. Robin is an incredible musician, and I encourage you down the path of checking out his projects, not only Tuba Skinny, but Glowworms, Rhythm Band, right? Wits and Brass Band, and his partner Magda's project. Tuba Skinny and Wits End will be touring this summer. I encourage you to check them out. Down in the show notes, we'll give all the information in terms of Robin's Instagram handles, where you can find out more about him, his band Tuba Skinny, and his other great projects. So thanks again for visiting tonight with us. If you're listening on a platform that's audio only, I definitely encourage you to check the video out on the YouTube channel. He's a performer, and Robin, looks you in the eye and moves through life with joy. So I hope you get a chance to see the video as well, and we appreciate you. Thanks.